lots to break down in the latest set of surveys. Let's start with senatorial survey, right? So we've got 8, essentially. The headline being 8 senatorial candidates backed by the administration are leading in the latest SWS survey, which was, of course, commissioned by Stratbase Group. This survey conducted face-to-face interviews with 1,800 registered voters. So, still number one, we've got ACT-CIS Representative Erwin Tulfo, followed by former Senate President Tito Soto. The biggest gainer is in third place at the moment. We're talking about Senator Lito Lapid, who jumped from 11th place just in December of last year, so 1 month ago. He jumped from 11th place to between third to fourth place as of this latest survey. He's statistically tied with Senator Bongo. And then we have Senator Ping Lacson in the 5th place, going up from 2 spots last month. Then Ben Tulfo retaining his position in 6th place. Then that's followed by Senator Pia Cayetano, statistically tied with former Senator Manny Pacquiao. Then we have Makati Mayor Abby Binay, Senator Bato de la Rosa, who gained a little bit of ground, Senator Bong Revilla, who fell about 10 places. He was at roughly 2nd place in December of last month, down to between 11th to 13th. Then we've got Willie Revillame, who also slipped several notches. And finally, rounding out the so-called winner's circle, we've got former Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Dindo, first question to you is, what's your overall assessment? What do you make of these numbers? There's some quite big jumps up and down.
Yes, we are in what we call a pre-election period, so there's no restrictions on advertising. And those that jumped, we noticed, had very heavy advertising over the past month since December. And I think they wanted to build that momentum, because when we hit the campaign period, February 12 onward, there will be limitations. They're trying to position themselves. The challenge now is, can they sustain it? And will the Marcos coalition, as he pushes it through his own coalition at the provincial and the congressional level, can deliver the machinery for the rest of his team, the rest of the 4 members of his slate.
Dindo, actually, the PCIJ story says the biggest spenders on advertising are Senator Amy Marcos and Congresswoman Camille Villar, who are down there. Now, bumaba sila eh.
Yes.
And
yes.
What do you make of Lito Lapid jumping to 3rd place? Ano bang ginawa niya? I don't think he has done anything new, except, of course, he has a very popular TV show. But wala namang pagbabago doon. So to what do you attribute these things?
For Amy Marcos, I think she's caught between the politics that she plays. She tries to contradict his brother, so he loses the support of the Marcos votes. Then also, though he tends to side policy-wise with the Dutertes, or the positioning with the Dutertes, he's also not perceived as part of the Duterte camp. So that is the politics she plays, and not one advertising or spending of advertising can really clear her position in the eyes of the voters. So she is caught in that situation of being really with no clear support base. On the part of Camille Villar, it's a reality that she came from nowhere among the Villars. We have to remember that from former Senate President Manny, the mother, Cynthia, and Mark, they were already popular. So they've been investing in advertising. But I believe she is on a striking position. And there's a possibility that she will come out strong in the right pacing. So I think the investment is really to put her there, to introduce her, and build a position as we go into the 90-day campaign. With Lito Lapid, you have to realize that we call it TV is king.
Yeah.
And
jump na.
It's possible that we have not had a report, but I've noticed a lot of those who jump had heavy spending when we say spending, we monitored it, but not scientifically as other people. But we noticed a lot of posturing by people who was spending the Bato de la Rosa, from billboards to television, and even social media. So we'd lead to lapid. I think that's also a possibility. But again, we are in a free space right now. Like I think in the case of Senator Bong Revilla, maybe he doubled down a little, and lost some traction because he had good rating last December. But you can expect him to push further, I think, with his candidacy and spending. So, but for me, what should be factored in really is we have not started the actual campaign and the flexing of the political machine of a sitting administration. And in this case, the sitting administration, I feel it's still possible for them to gain 2 more seats, given the capacity for them to deliver the votes, because surveys are simply snapshots of what the public perceive who they like. But with 90 days, it's how you communicate, how do you deliver the votes also at the local level to your national candidate. And that's something that we need to see. That's why with Stratbase, we plan to do this monthly. So by the end of February, first few weeks of the campaign, we'll have another snapshot of where the people are. Then we build and we build until we see some trending or momentum towards the first week of May.
Actually, Dindo, ang nakita kong significant is some of the biggest advertisers are actually down there. Sila Ben Hurabalo, si Tolentino, even Bong Revilla. You see their faces all over. Lahat ng poste ng Meralco, nandyan sila eh. Pati lahat ng mga pader, lahat ng kung ano-ano. Pati sa online, they have a very heavy online presence, but they are down there. Yun ang nakikita kong significant actually dito sa results nyo ngayon.
No, Ben Harabalos is one of the... We're noticing him now, but the report that I saw is a lower... He did not spend much. This period. Always remember what we see or what we monitor. All the reports are 2-3 months old. So it's very important to be strategic in buying your ads. So this is reflective of the 2-week period that we run our survey. That's why I've said it's open season.
Yeah.
So with Senator Tolentino, I think this is really a challenge for him because I think he have reached a level of high awareness already, unlike Ben Harabalot, who's still in his 80% level. So when you have high awareness and you're still not converting, it means people are rejecting you. So maybe he needs to
Di ba
step
sumikat
upward
siya doon kay, kay Alice Go?
I'm not really sure of that.
And the WPS issue.
But the WPS issue, I think he needs to be more consistent on that. And, I think I've spoken longer in WPS. That some of these candidates, so not because you're speaking now, it's sticking to the mind of the public.
Yeah. Dindo, as far as you know, so we're they can't technically be charged with premature campaigning yet because of a technicality in the law. But when you talk about spending at this point, where do you observe the most money going? Or is it still billboards? Is it TV? Is it online now?
TV and online is number 1 and number 2 in what shapes the thinking of the voters, because it's the source of news for them now. Radio is a far third, print is far fourth, but print tends to shape the news also. So if you write in the right news, so online and presence and it's hard to monitor online because not because you see them. That could be it's a very scientific and targeted approach. So if you're targeting the right voters, the right appeals, the right geographic area, and I've always argued that there are just 30 provinces in the National Capital Region that's already 72% of our votes. So you spend time on those areas, talk to people from those areas, communicate and buy ads on TV and online in those areas.
How big of a... Go ahead, Ami.
No, these are still mostly administration candidates, although we know naman na midterm elections, the administration candidates usually do very well. Kaya lang, are you linking the results of your Senate surveys with the performance ratings of the administration? Because we also came out with, kayo din ang nag-commission na ito, di ba? Yung SWS performance rating of the administration remained high in the fourth quarter.
Yes,
May link ba yun?
on specific
May link?
issues, of course,
Despite,
there is a link. No matter how there are forces, and I would say organized forces, trying to diminish the performance of our president. Oh, you see that online. We track that in our research and intelligence team. There are actual support for the president and the programs he has. Can he sustain it? Can he translate it to his new, I call it his new unity coalition? Because something that we have failed really to emphasize is the president has built a new unity team. You have Pacquiao, Lacson, Soto, that were not part of his coalition before. And even we've noticed in the lower house, I think they were just among the incumbent ones, there's just less than 10 who signifies support for the Dutertes. So that kind of unity that is built will deliver votes at the end of the day, especially from the eyes of the public that might perceive them to be doing relatively well. I think they could do better, but doing relatively well, because the performance of the president is still in the low, a little lower than 60, but it could be better if not for the 22 area in Mindanao. So imagine if he does better in Mindanao the next 3 months, then his candidates will really benefit for a good performance rating, because he's being pulled in a certain geographic area, which is Mindanao. But recovering in Luzon, but of course in Luzon, inflation is still a top issue.
Yeah.
And if you've noticed in that performance rating, inflation, not only with social weather station, we did not commission it, but we subscribe to Pulse Asia. Inflation is also top of mind of people, and the president is being challenged by that. I wouldn't like to use the word blamed for that. The challenge in terms of performance ratings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all can feel it. But Dindo, since you talked about the ratings, let's dive into the next bucket in your latest survey results, in the ones that Stratbase commissioned. Trust ratings for President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Vice President Sara Duterte for January 2025, 50% say they have much trust in the president. That's down 4 points from just last month, right? The ones who say they have little trust in him inched up by 1 point to 26%. And then the same numbers for Vice President Sara Duterte are 49% say they have much trust for her. So she's below the 50% halfway mark now. And the ones who say they have little trust in her are inched up to 30% at this point. This basically crystallizes a declining trend in trust ratings for both the president and the vice president, as evidenced by numerous surveys, not just SWS, there's also Pulse Asia and Okta Research. It's both their numbers are on the decline. What do we make of this?
I think for the president, economic situation of our people, and it's reflective also in our GDP numbers. We did not consume so much that brought down our GDP for the year-on-year to 5.4, considering we were at 5.8 already. So I think inflation, lack of jobs, sustained income is affecting the perception vis-a-vis the trust rating on the president. Parang, I'll use the Filipino term, pagkakatiwala ka bang tutulungan o harapin natin ang mga problema natin sa bayan. So, yung mapagkakatiwalaan. On the part of VP Sara, we've noticed it that it's really her lack of transparency and his failure to account on issues that has been raised against her, especially on the misuse of funds, confidential funds, and funds in the Department of Education, and while she was vice president. As long as she will not address that and try to avoid that, And these are all reports, though it could be politically motivated if it's coming from the House of Representatives or allies of the President, but these are all coming from Commission and Audit Report. But I think the public respects. We deal with that reality that we need to be audited, especially public officials, and their failure to address that will continue to decline, will affect her ratings or her trust ratings. But with the President, I see it possible recovering if he can help address the cost of living of our people, the presyo ng bilihin. No, it's a hard reality for the public, and it's also reflective in other surveys. We've seen that in other surveys that it's a top concern of people, and I think the President is being burdened by the hardship, economic hardship of our people, especially if we break down the demographics, the social class E.
Yeah, actually, that's a great. Let me just get this follow-up in. That's a great point because looking at the numbers, Marcos lost. Sorry, by socioeconomic class, Marcos gained a lot of ground in classes A, B, and C. He jumped 16 points to 60% in January in terms of people who say they have much trust in him, right? He lost a little bit of ground in class D, about 6 points. He lost, so now it sits at 49% for him. But with Vice President Sara Duterte, this is very notable. In class A, B, and C, she lost 17 points. Now she's sitting at about 40% for those who say that they have much trust in her. And then also in class E, for the Vice President, she lost about 13 points. So it's now sitting at 47%. And these are the big movements in terms of socioeconomic classes in this particular round of surveys, which again, I will point out was just, the time span from this and the last one was just a month.
Yes, it's really perception of people, but in politics, perception is reality. From the eyes of the people, we are having some economic challenges, and we hope we can trust the President that he will do something about it. On the part of Sara Duterte, can we trust her to be accountable and transparent on the way he has spent public funds? So those become the challenges of our two highest leaders going into the election season.
Dindo, malakas pa rin ang Dutertes in Mindanao, ano? How much of the Duterte factor can you attribute yung pagbaba ng, continuing decline din si President Marcos, no? How much of that? They have a solid base on Duterte in Mindanao. Pwede pa rin siya ba? Is it still a significant factor doon sa numbers ni President Marcos?
The President is being pulled by either support, at least the term support,
yes.
or is there an actual
yes.
campaign to discredit him in Mindanao? Because when you look at economic issues, we tend to feel that more in highly urbanized areas, which is what we call the Calabar Zone, the Central Luzon, or the Mega Manila area,
yes.
but not Mindanao. So maybe there are organized efforts to create distrust on the President in the area of Mindanao. So it's up for its own team to communicate better in Mindanao or harness his political allies, the coalition that he built, to communicate what they are doing.
Okay, we're going to have to leave that there for now. Thank you so much for your insights and joining us on Storycon. That was Dindo Manhit, President of Stratbase Group.